with getting the invitation and getting the link this morning. So I thought that pitches were for shorter, so you've given me a little bit more time, so that's good. Should I just share my screen? Is that what?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
can share your screen and can take your time, 10 minutes, but it can
Okay.
be shorter and it's up to you.
Thank you. Share screen. There we go. Hopefully it's going to come up. There we go. Allow. Okay. Move on presenter mode.
I already love this.
Say again.
I already love this, but I'm not an investor.
Oh, well, I don't know how much you know yet, but okay. So the name of the company is SYMBiHOM, and where I came up with the name is I saw a vision for being able to do adaptive reuse, reusing what we already had. And I'll give you a little background on how I ended up where we are. But SIM is before, and the biome was a play on the microbiome. Without diversity, we are not healthy. And we needed diversity. We need diversity. I'm in San Francisco. Bay Area. We're in a housing crisis in California, and there are other places that are having crisis as well within the United States. And we need diversity. It can't just be, our working class needs a place to work. Our nurses, our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers, so that they don't have to drive 2 to 4 hours to be able to get into work or stay in temporary facilities while they're on shift. And so I came to the Bay Area to oversee some high-rise residential projects that a Chinese developer had purchased the entitlements. And I'm a construction cost expert. And I was the first to help them understand that the performers were not, they were bogus. And I started doing a lot of modeling of trying to say, okay, instead of these sites being high rises, why don't we try and make them, at least two of them, podium, like 7-story, and get the same kind of density. But at the time, the developer was not interested, it was a Chinese developer, was not interested in changing entitlements. And the original developer of the entitlements had really convinced the mayor at the time, Sam Liccardo, that these should really be high rises. And I don't think the site should have ever been high rises. So I finished up with that developer, went back out and started doing consulting, was hired by the CFO of San Jose State. They just received a building a block away from their campus. And he asked me like to put together feasibility studies. What can we do with these? So I put two feasibility studies together. One was 25-story towers, one was three 25-story towers, because we have the airport, and so we're limited on height. The three 25-story towers were with the idea of saying, okay, I can get some money from the county on affordable, and I can do a mixed use of that. And it was intended to be for teachers and graduate students, affordable. And we did a demand study on campus. Um, Long and short of it was, without land, and with the building being given to them, it was $1 million a unit. And at $1 million a unit, you're not going to create affordable. And you couldn't add enough market to offset it, even if you tried. And so, because we did the demand study, I was privy to people's salaries, sorted it, and realized, we have an AMI here, which is a median income of $160,000 a year. And that puts our educators and most of the people in low income or very low income. And then, understanding what the rents needed to be and what the rents are in these new developments. So we had a lot of projects. I'll just go to the next slide. There were billboards all over town. And, I'm new to the Bay and I go by the billboards, and it took me a while. I kind of like it like Secretariat. I'm coming around the curve. But I came around the curve and realized, these are just entitlements where they aggregated property and drove up the land cost. And none of these are built. And even the city had them as live projects. And developers weren't telling the real numbers to the city, which I think is pretty typical, just so that they can get the entitlement. And I read an article in the BBC, and it got me like thinking about it was really how London, Berlin, LA were solving their housing crisis, and it was with the fit out of garages. And what I saw was being able to create a modular product that clipped inside an existing space and converted it into a living unit. And so I went through the process of talking to everybody that cares about housing and doesn't give money to startups, developing a design, getting it approved by HCD, which is a Housing and Community Development. Each state has one, and HUD, which is a national, has a development or approval process too, which basically says if you build it off-site and it's modular and it gets inspected, there's a way for you to be able to have it inspected before it shows up on site. And so I have approved drawings, and so that's in place. So I have projects that I've completed that have been in the residential realm. They work in multifamily as well, because there's what's accessory dwelling unit laws, which have been in place since 2019, that allow you to convert spaces into living units without having to replace parking. And in existing multifamily, you can add up to 25% of the number of units that are existing, including some that are standalone. And so somewhere along the way, when I was saying I didn't do anything in the backyard, I said, okay, I can do the backyard because it's a panelized system. It's approved. It just means it goes on a slab rather than going in something existing. And so in the residential realm, I've got a great reputation. Everybody knows about me. I'm getting contacted. I'm pre-approved in the city of San Jose. And it's been about the last year that it's like, I really, to scale this, I need to have funds. And so the seed round is for that. And it's to scale really 4 categories of the business. So the demand here, we've got 1 billion square foot of empty office buildings in the United States. And 30% occupancy is pretty common. I've got a unit that's about $200,000, but that's a residential cost. And I've been responsible as the head of construction for adaptive reuse projects. So my eyes are really on commercial, and the idea of having an AI tool that could easily identify distressed property with all the identifiers that come all the way to the end on what it costs CapEx to do the development. This isn't like we have this, it's not about fitting units onto the floor. It's about actually having the tool do the due diligence and understanding what you can and can't do, what buildings are, not, in my mind's eye, I kind of have an idea of which kinds of buildings, because it's not the high rise with the 0 lot lines downtown for us. I know that they're doing adaptive reuse in New York, but here we have seismic. And so there's a lot that has to happen, even in California code, that says once you do a change of use, then you need to bring it up to current code. And we have laws right now that are been fortified and that are in place where we can go through a ministerial process instead of having to go through CEQA, which was the whole environmental reports, where it becomes very, very expensive to do developments. But from my experience and knowing construction cost and seeing the billboards, I just know that I know that I know we're not coming out of the ground to solve any housing crisis. And I'm in an area that has a lot of wealth, and they're not real motivated to change things if it's already been working for them. And so while this might be disruptive, it's really more of an accelerator. It's to get past the craziness that can go on in construction and development. And as somebody who's gone in and turned projects around with both construction companies, overseeing projects for Fortune 500 companies, I know what it is to do something properly and things improperly. And due diligence is a really big problem because you have God bless engineers and architects. I don't want to abuse an architect, but architects and engineers don't know what things cost. And they haven't been responsible to the last dollar that gets spent on a project, and I have. And so being able to formulate this so that we clearly understand what's going to make it a go, no go, that's not just superficial, but it really gets into the mechanics of the building. What year was it built? What are the codes? What are we having to do to improve that building? Does it have the utilities that are required? You know, it's a whole iteration, and I have a architecture designed to be able to handle all of those iterations in detail. And one of the people that I'm working with is going to be the fractional CFO, who's also a developer, understands. He goes, Rebecca, very few people have the background that you do. And while people may have the experience in one aspect of it, they haven't aggregated it like I'm doing right now. So what we deliver that the competitors don't, we've got an integrated modular system that has the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing already in it. I say mechanical, it's really the electrical and plumbing. But on the wall systems and being able to get air and HVAC, which you're really looking on an adaptive reuse, you're looking at, I'm just going to focus on adaptive reuse only on the commercial because it's got the biggest impediment and the biggest possibility being able to put many units in place, not just one at a time. I looked at the residential piece of this, even though it's got legs, it's making money, got interest, as being an income cash flow, but it was a testing ground on being able to create a product. And that product clips into place into an existing space. You get the base building ready, and then we can come up with the market, which is also the AI tool, to being able to understand what the demand is, what is needed, and being able to do the unit mix on the floor. The modular system is completely customizable. I made it where the panels, two people can handle them so that the weight is not too much. It's built to a commercial specification, which works in a residential or a commercial space. And I've got the experience of being able to do the conversions. So we've got the commercial specification, and we've got policy in California, which is being adopted in New York. I think ADU laws just started in New York. That's a really great example of 5 boroughs. I've actually worked in Manhattan on projects. And there's opportunity for a lot of conversion, even at the residential level, single family home, when I say residential, multifamily as well. And they're already doing, there's 2 major developers that went together to do conversions in New York. And one of them was interviewed on Bloomberg. And near the end, you know, the guy, he's saying, well, what about these big plates? Well, we just put a hole in the middle. I mean, they just make an atrium. This is not rocket science. But he said, isn't that tough? And he goes, everything's tough. If anybody thinks coming out of the ground is easy, adaptive reuse, if you know what you're doing, is a lot easier and it's a lot faster. So I've got cumulative $2.5 million worth of revenue. Each year I've grown half and half, like on top of one another. I've got a 45% margin, and the typical average unit is about $210,000. On the residential side, a lot of people say, oh, I got a panelized system, but they're wood, or they're SIP, which is an insulated panel. But they don't have electrical and plumbing in them, so you still have to have the trades on site. And if anybody on this group, and I'm sure you have, been on a job site, you know how people start stepping on one another and how all the confusion starts. And what I've done is created something that's highly predictable, that can be built at the same time we're doing the base building improvements, to be able to have it flat stacked and start to install once we get the floors ready in a building. But it can also be true in a multifamily where we're fitting out garages or any empty space. Go in with the scanner, get the dimensions, understand what we're building. In the commercial, there's a way to make it where it's got ability to increase in height or change in height to be able to fit to the underside of the structure. And I haven't found that that's necessary in residential because I'm bringing something that's so much more sophisticated than what they're used to. But I've had inspectors go, is this the future? Once they see that I've got pre-approved drawings and it's already been inspected, it's just how are you clipping it in place and where are the utilities you're connecting to? So here are some of the policy windows. The AB 507 is actually this year, July. It really cements the fact that you can do ministerial. And everyone has to be able to do it. It's not like somebody has to adopt it, and then if they adopt it, they'll do it. But in California, if you have a conversion from commercial to residential, then it is a ministerial process. And really, what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I'm bringing it up to code. This is how I brought it up to code, and putting your drawings in for approval. The AB 1211 is the 25% more units in multifamily. There's all kinds of units. There's actually 1.2 million homes in the Bay Area that have garages that homeowners are in, or half of which homeowners are in. And I have so many calls about trying to do a suite for their mother or their parents because we have an aging population, and children want to be able to have their parents on close by, which makes it much more convenient, but also the family dynamics, which on a positive light, for the kids and for the family, it can be very supportive. AB 1033 is you can now sell your ADUs. So now this has become a much more investment friendly conversation, so that if you have a plot of land, you can actually put up to 8 units on one single family lot. So the R1 lot now can be used with multiple units on it, not just one ADU with and one ADU and one JADU, which is just a junior ADU, on one single family lot with a home. And then, the market now on commercial, which I shared, 1 billion square foot of empty space, if we only get a fraction of that. And of course, I would start in the Bay Area, but I'm not looking. I've had Sam Liccardo, which was now a congressman, used to be the mayor of San Jose, asked me to go look at one of the office buildings in San Jose, high rise. And it was still owned by a developer, so I don't think it was really ever an opportunity because the developer was, trying to be a developer. And, when a high rise, you have to obviously look at the year. I think it was built in the 1960s. Not only do you have to do seismic, you've got to put a gurney size elevator in, and you've got to put an extra stairwell in for egress. When you're on a zero lot line, that means it has to be in the footprint. It starts to get cost prohibitive very quickly to be able to do an adaptive reuse on a high rise. But if you go to 7 stories and you're out of the high rise code with a pretty good plate, you could probably get 60 units at a time. And I have, I've had more than one conversation with those who want to work with me that come from the development background that see this as such an opportunity to be able to speed it up. Because if you're fabricating the units while you're doing the base building improvements, you're saving time on money, which is a really big deal for your temporary financing. So investors invested people. I'm a founder. I have 40 years experience in construction. I started my career at a cost consulting company in Dallas, Fort Worth that was tied to the UK for quantity surveyors. I was trained how to do quantity surveys and estimate in all trades. We had correction factors and databases for cost and correction factors for around the world. And when I went to work for a general contractor, it was the largest general contractor in Dallas. Most of the high rises in the Arts District were my first projects. And because I knew how to do conceptual estimating, I was put in charge of, putting numbers together for 55-story office buildings. But I also was dialed up to office buildings, like whether it be a steel frame, whether it be concrete frame, whether it be office, retail, just a whole variety of uses, hospitals. So I have a deep background, and I started my own company. I went to Philadelphia from Dallas-Fort Worth, worked on data centers and ops centers as the lead person in pre-construction, and then moved to cost controls and created cost controls for the whole company. Then started my own company to oversee projects from start to finish. And I've sat in all the seats in the contractor's office, and it made it where I could understand and foresee. And because I'm always thinking cost, I'm leading a team of people. And I'd say that, everybody's in their silo of expertise. The ability to be able to bring them above their silo to integrate really creates magic. And I've had that success. And I've had projects on time, on budget, without litigation for 20 years. And it's because I understand how to set the table. I understand how to do all the work that needs to be done before we ever put a shovel on the ground, which is unique and
Yeah.
really great contracts on how to keep people accountable. If you can't keep a team member accountable, you've already lost. So
Excuse
I
me,
also have,
Rebecca,
pardon me?
do you have many slides left? Because we have like 5 minutes left on the 25.
Okay, yeah.
Do you have a lot of how
On the
many?
slides,
No, on like it was 25
let me,
minutes per person. But how many slides do you have left?
just, I think, two.
Two?
Yeah, two.
Okay,
Yeah, I was just going to talk about the team and then tell you what the ratings
okay,
are.
okay, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
fine.
no, thank you for the
Mhm.
flag. I can't see you, but thank you for the flag. Okay, so I've attracted a CTO that helped build Slack. Um, and we're in negotiations with like him actually being able to do the engineering and the platform. I've got a fractional CFO that's also comes from a development background. I've got a data and institutional relationships for being able to access the data, and a fractional CMO. And these are all like seasoned professionals. So right now I have a seed round. It's a $5 million safe, $30 million cap valuation, 20% discount, and I've raised $500,000 so far. It builds the AI feasibility engine. It gets actually the AI within the whole organization. It also has a ability to be able to bring senior players on board with me and kind of get the residential with some leadership so that I can focus on the commercial. So that's it.
Okay, thank you so
My
much.
screen. Yeah,
Thank you
you're
so much,
welcome.
Rebecca.
Let me get out of here. Stop sharing. I found it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the pitch. Great pitch. Let's hear from Melinda first. Melinda, you can start asking your questions and give your feedback to Rebecca.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. This is an intriguing proposal, and I do have a couple of questions. First of all, do you have sample floor plans of what your modules might look like?
Yeah, I do. I don't know if you had an opportunity to visit my website, but on my website I have like interrelation, commercial, and do I need to share my screen again and show you?
If you happen to have it on hand, if you don't have it, it's
Yeah, you
fine.
know what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an animation of the product going in place, okay? And then I can show you where I have the multifamily on a commercial, I mean, like multiple units on a commercial floor. Would that be good?
Yes.
Okay, let me share real quick. Bear with me while I get to my, here we go. All right. I'm not sure. I think this is a whole presentation, but we can just look. Here's the innovation. So in a residential, I put a vapor barrier down. I level the floor because garages aren't level. This is all waterproof. I use mold and mildew resistant drywall. The panel system has flex panels in the corners, so you have modules that have the proper electrical in them, and then the plumbing, I try to optimize, or I do optimize, so that they're either back to back or in the same line. so that the plumbing is up in the wall until you go to connect to the sewer line. Now, let me give you, do you want to see some before and afters? Or
I
no?
know I do.
Yes.
You do? Okay, hold on.
I think we are just two presenters, so we can take a little bit more time. It's okay.
Okay, all right. Let me, sorry to start over. Here. There we go. Here we go. So that system is pretty similar even in a commercial. It's just the way they're laid out. So this is a detached garage. A couple of brothers owned it, a house that they were renting, and they said, okay, a third unit. So this gives, more income to an existing homeowner, not homeowner, but a renter, like landlord.
Mhm.
So here's the living room, here's the kitchen. And this was actually my first unit. And you can see I have these lighting systems above, which run dimmers, which really make it where it feels tall. Most garages have 8 feet. This one had 9 feet. Here's some more different layouts. Again, I scan the space, look what the available space is. And these are really trying to show homeowners, yeah, a tandem garage, we can still do that. Here we go.
Hey, Matilda, can I ask questions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yes.
Rebecca, I'm assuming that was
Should I
in
just keep
California
playing
or
this
San
so you can
Francisco?
see it? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Please. What is the average cost per square foot to build in that area? And what did it cost you, and what do you think you can bring it down to?
Well, first of all, you can't do cost per square foot in a small space. Everything's an
Right.
algorithm. And that's actually true in every building, but
Sure.
people use cost per square foot. And so I just educate on that part. So when
Yeah.
I price something, it's really saying this is a studio, this is a 1 bedroom, this is a 2 bedroom. And so um, the studio is about 175. This is with a 45% margin because I do it well. It's a superior product. And especially now that we can sell our ADUs, it means that somebody actually wants to buy it.
Right.
And it's breathable. I don't have VOCs. I've got, really minimal, if any, VOCs in this, and which is unusual. I don't use vinyl floors. I don't use toxic materials. Plus, it won't grow mildew or mold. It's got wool instead of fiberglass. I mean, there's just so many things that it is that I feel are really important. And for people that understand that or have health issues, I have just client just now. It's about $1,000 a square foot to buy something around here. To build
Sure.
something, who knows until you get to the end of the day.
Yep.
And that's the difference between me and probably everybody else. I don't go in with a number just to get them to sign and then change the number. But that's typical. And even in commercial, it's like 40% over, and 3 years later, we'll get it built. And they don't have controls in place, which I could look at the beginning of the day and tell you why they don't. Or the person that's in charge doesn't understand how to write the contracts or to really have the
Yep.
chutzpah. I've gone toe to toe with Tishman at Ground Zero for Verizon, to break up the party. I'm not casual about this because I'm really driven by the honesty in it to say, look, I'll take care of you. The owner's going to take care of you. I won't let them take advantage of you. But we're going to talk about everything because you're a professional and we don't need to be having these gap conversations. I've argued enough change orders in Philadelphia to know that. So, so the studio, and of course, this is, one's attached, one's not attached. The studio can be anywhere from 175 to 200. And then the 1 bedroom ends up being around 205 to 225. It depends on utilities and like what I have to do to the structure. With any of these garages, I have to bring it up to seismic code, which means I have a prescriptive method. I use a prescriptive method on the energy too, so that it's just straightforward. This is what we do for here. And it's pretty predictable. I've done enough of these that I understand it. I can look at the space and go, okay, I know what this is going to take. And I really resist lowballing things. And if someone understands the value of what I bring, which For the most part, they do. But if you've never been through this process and you think you can do it yourself better, then I have to let those people go think that and go do it. I think these are the backyard, which are beautiful. Look at this, like a house. That's like the 1,000 square feet, the 1,200 square feet. So yeah, now I need to show you the multifamily. I'm sorry, I need to stay focused. It's hard with you guys. Let's see here. Let's bring that up. Go here and go.
And Melinda, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
That's all right.
That's what I want to do. Okay, so here's my website. This is a nice opportunity to show off a little bit. So I have the adaptive reuse over here for commercial, industrial, and residential. So here's an example, okay? So if I'm kind of figuring out what this is going to be, I'm going to say I've got this one has 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, studios. All of this on the AI tool is going to be mapped to saying, what's the market demand right now? Some of these will be bridge housing for counties and cities. Because if I can bring a project to them, they're dying for housing, and get a lease, then I can get institutional funds to be able to develop the project. I can choose to develop it as SYMBiHOM. I can also broker it to someone else. I can also bring another developer in. So there's lots of different options depending on where we are in our growth and capabilities. I'm not greedy. I really it's really a monitoring of saying, is this going to be to our benefit? It's not going to be to our benefit. So, these are examples of what it would look like on the inside, depending on what the height. Most of these commercial buildings are going to have really high ceilings. And there it is again. So I've got back of house, I've got elevators. So if I've got 1,000 square foot as the marker for the unit, then I'm going to say, let's divide the floor plate by 2,000. And if I have a deep floor plate, then maybe I want to put an atrium in the middle, which sounds cost prohibitive, but it's really not. It's really saying, how am I going to get the light in here? And, I'm not the smartest on everything, but I'm going to have the smartest of everything around the table when we're making these decisions. And I have experience with knowing the difference. So here's an example of it being loaded on a flatbed and coming to the job site. And then installation is going to have the finish on site and ready to make income. Does that answer your question on the multi-floor, on the floor?
Yes, thank
These
you for
panelized
sharing.
the panelized systems like this, if this has an hour rating, then it's really just the type of drywall we're putting on it, right? If it's going to have fire tape at the top, there's just different techniques on being able to make it where it's ready when you send it to the job site. And the floor is ready. I'm going to wait for you to answer that if you need more information.
I do have further questions after seeing these. Are there any constraints and criteria of where your models can be successfully deployed within existing built environments? And how do you assess the compatibility of your modules with the different urban fabrics? Are there any conditions where the system performs best or faces limitations?
Where it faces limitation. The only limitation that I have is what is the economics in that region. So, there's certain regions where this probably is more sophisticated and not going to be like the solution for them. I'm in a very, very expensive area, but I could plot different cities, and the AI tool should be able to tell us where we are with the performa, that we can measure it against the market to know whether or not it's going to pencil, right? Because you've got to have certain rents. That's why some of the public ones would be even better because it's very predictable. They need housing, but again, they may not have enough money to be able to put a project in place. So it's going to have constraints just like any other real estate. What I'm really trying to do here is say we've got 1 billion square foot of empty office building, And we're not coming out of the ground. We need a solution, and I want to build that solution. And I have confidence in my own ability and my own background and history and the types of people that I associate with and have been. Has been a very sophisticated setting. And I've been able to create magic with those people. It's not like they could see it themselves, but I can help them see it because I understand we don't have to do it exactly the way you've always done it. And so should I stop saving or anything else?
Melinda,
Or
do you have
stop
some more
sharing, rather?
questions? Melinda, do you have some more points or?
I do have one more question.
Yeah.
How are building compliance codes achieved in relation to the existing fabric your module fits within? For example, the number of exits and maximum travel distances to exits for egress purposes.
Right. Well, that part of the tool identifies the size of the plate, right? Also the code. So without going, telling you the secret sauce, but it goes through a very okay, this is located here. Are utilities available from the utility companies? What's the age of the building? What's the code it was built under? Now we're going to change to adaptive reuse. This is the current code. It's an overlay of the existing floor plate saying, okay, we're going to need a gurney elevator. We're going to need a second. If we're on a site that's not zero lot line, I can pop something out of the building much less expensive than going into the building and doing a retrofit. And so it's making those analysis at cost of what it takes to do it. It's a true due diligence without having to have boots on the ground. And even with boots on the ground, depending on who you hire, I mean, I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. They hire these really big firms, but the due diligence didn't pick up that, oh, we still have asbestos. Well, that's because you didn't have the whole, environmental report. So there's a lot of layers in the AI tool to be able to understand those things, and they implicate cost, right? And so we have to look at what that cost is, but the ability, we have to go first and say, is there room to build it? Can we, and kind of envisioning this starting with buildings with land around them. I mean, there's low-hanging fruit to be able to apply this to that could be very successful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Melinda, for your feedback. And now let's ask Meredith for her feedback and questions.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you so much for the presentation. I have two questions. Number one is, I want to understand which pending patent you're applying for the current modular system. And number two is, are there any other add-on features, codes you plan to add to the modular system as you scale the business for the next 3 to 5 years? How do you envision this modular system to evolve and adaptable to the market changes? More like a future thought-provoking question.
Yeah. No. This is, every few years we have a code update, right? So it either affects it or it doesn't affect it. But right now I've got it built to the highest standard of commercial construction where electrical and plumbing, I mean, I'm not using cast iron, maybe some of these older buildings, but I'm using ABS and some of them are changing to ABS. So that's another layer of, do I have that flexibility? But if a city wants housing, they're going to look at these things and go, oh yeah, we can use ABS. It's like my plumbing is in the walls, right? It's not 2 feet below grade. And so even the inspector is like, well, if HCD says it's okay with me. So it's really, I have the inspection of the state entity that says this is okay to build this way with this. And then I don't see limitations with it. It's really about saying, let's go build some stuff. And so I've actually practiced in a small setting, like designing the product, right? Seeing how it fits together and how to optimize. So in any of these layouts, I have an optimized layout to be able to get the most out of that square footage and spend the least on plumbing. I've got a really cool, unit they use in retrofit of hotels that's got the heat pump in it for the air. Yeah, we're going to have some air circulation in the corridors and pull it from under the doors like you do in a hotel. But I think there's just a lot of things that make it where this is not new. So the IP question it's IP pending. It's going through its third review. It's got all commercial specified projects. I've also got IP in the AI tool. So I've got two branches of IP on the products. I don't see any, like, I think every project's a discovery, right? That's what we got lasers for. And doing a proper due diligence and understanding the building, but knowing what the envelope is that you're going into and what you have to do to the envelope, as well as the interiors, is we should know that way in advance so that we know that it's a low cap X. And then when it comes to the build, we strip the building and we're doing lasers and we understand where the mechanical and electrical have to go for the main services.
Thank
Does
you.
that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you, Meredith. Okay, yes. So unfortunately, Mauricio and Wayne, the other two advisors, could not make it the last second. So I'll make sure to connect you after the call and get maybe a written feedback or meeting. I'll do something about it. So it's just us.
That's what recordings
It's
are
all
for.
right. So yeah, so thank you for the feedback. It was really interesting. And thank you for the pitch, Rebecca. And now we will move to hear about Joshua's project, secondary DAO. So Joshua, you can share your screen whenever you're ready.
I'm going to share my screen. And I think this might work.
Hi, Joshua. The way that's
There we
go. You look like you got goggles on.
I know. I'm going the amount of time I spend in front of my computer, I'm going blind.
No, you got the blue screen, that thing going on. But anyway.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so my name's Josh Freedman. I've been in real estate for 25 years. I've owned broker shops with 27 loan officers. I've done over $1 billion in originations. And I've created a tokenized, fractionalized real estate investment platform that allows people to invest directly into a project or a property that is tokenized in an SPV or an LLC. So secondary DAO is the first compliant real estate ownership infrastructure. We focus on compliance and we focus on worldwide compliance. Let me see how this works. There we go. Some of the problems in the current situation. The big one is most tokenized projects, you don't actually get ownership of a property. You're buying into a pool and you buy a token and you're not buying a specific property. So profits and losses get spread around and you're not getting the rate of return that you expected when you looked at that property deal. The other big problem is there's no secondary market. You drop $25,000 on 25 tokens, and guess what? You can't sell them. There's nobody buying. The next big problem is the compliance theater. People will say that they're compliant, but you'll notice nobody has a license. And they're not licensed because, yeah, sure, they do KYC. Sure, they do AML on the wallets. But are they compliant with SEC regulations? Are they compliant? Every property, you've got the issuing country, you've got where the property is, you've got where the buyers are, how are you marketing it? These are all things that we take into regard. And no regulators want to touch them because of that. So with our system, everything is a DAO.
Just a small break. There is the top bar that is in the kind of covering your screen. Can you put it somewhere else or?
I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
I mean, it's like a little bit disturbing, but it's okay. But if you can find a way.
Oh, that bar.
Yeah. I can see like the audio, video, participants, and so on.
I'm trying to see. I don't have that on my. Let me try one more thing there. Did that work?
No, I can still. But it's better if it's below, actually, at least.
I can't even get this off the screen.
Now at least the camera is gone, so now
Oh,
it's smaller. It's better.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Okay.
All right,
Go
thank you.
on.
Yeah, so with our system, I don't know how many people are familiar with what a DAO is. What a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. And what that means is that you buy into a DAO, you buy tokens. In our case, that token it represents a company, and that company owns the asset or the project. You have governance votes. You the rent gets collected. The Actually, I'll just go through this one at a time. Um, you're not buying fund shares. You're actually buying tokens of that property. That's $50 a token in our system. We have an on-chain order book that allows you to buy or sell. We're 100% non-custodial, so you actually own your tokens in your wallet. Nobody can touch those unless a regulator decides to seize them. Then we can pull them back, or we can demonetize them or shut them off from using our system. Um, everything Nothing can be moved unless you sign a transaction. We have 13 steps where an investor could be locked out of the system. If they don't pass their KYC, I'm sorry, KYC is know your customer. That's when you go to a bank and you show your ID, and the bank, okay, now they know who you are. That's what we do in an automated fashion with every investor. We have KYB for accredited investors, so we can do background checks on them, anti-money laundering checks. We can blacklist users. We can blacklist wallets. We can lock out investors by country. We also have what we call the legal pack compliance regime. And that was what I was talking about before, where the asset's in one place, the issuer is another country, and the buyer is in a different country. We can actually lock that on the blockchain so that the incorrect buyers can't buy into a project. And then we also have, and I should mention what the entire purpose of this entire project is. We have a complete beginning to end ecosystem where we tokenize the property, we collect the rent. The property manager manages the property. The rent gets pulled into a contract. It goes into our escrows. Our escrows get replenished, and then any of the net profit gets automatically funded out to those token holders. So when a token holder buys in at a 10% cash on cash return, they can see everything on the Explorer and the blockchain. They can verify every dollar. They can see which units are paying. They can see where the funds went, if taxes have been paid. The due diligence folder holds everything that you would expect to see in a property deal. We also have what a lot of projects are lacking, which is an end game. Once you tokenize a property, how do you untokenize a property? So we have an institutional buyout mechanism that allows a buyer to come in, make an offer, and force the minority sellers to take the best offer, so we can detokenize the property. This is a lot of what I just talked about. You've got your origination, which we all know what that is, onboarding, rent collections. I'm going to skip through most of this. I think we handled most of this. Net income distribution, and this is about the KYC and the KYB and making sure that the investors can buy into that project. Everything is verifiable on the blockchain. And in some localities, maybe renters, it's mandatory that their deposits are to be interest bearing. We have that feature. So a property manager can indicate in their country the rent needs to be interest bearing. They click a button. So all renters in that country then go to an AVE pool. AVE is a yield farmer. So instead of going into an IOTA account that most people might recognize as interest bearing in the US, it would go into AVE. AVE would collect interest, and then that renter would receive that interest at the end of their contract. And right now we have 14 legal packs So we've got about 6 countries and 4 different packs for types of offerings. Um, and most importantly, uh, this is all built. Everything is done. I'm looking for funding to get the crypto audit for our crypto contracts. Everything's been approved by El Salvador, so that would allow us to tokenize in any country, do the issuing in El Salvador, and then depending on where the token buyers are and where the country is located, that would be the lock on who could buy into the project. Um, Everything's completed, and we need that crypto audit to pass the last gate to launch. Um, Yeah, and we've already, engaged some legal counsel down there. I've been working with them for over a year. I've been working on this project for 4 years, and we're working on the Arbitrum blockchain, which keeps the expenses super low. The security is a little lesser than Ethereum, technically, but it does reduce the blockchain cost to nearly pennies per property, which is really important when you have got 2,000 token holders and you're trying to pay them all $1. Um, and as you know, I hate to go over this slide. The real estate market's $330 trillion, and there's only $500 million tokenized. And of that tokenized stuff, that's all debt tokenization. And we're doing property tokenization. So when you buy into something on our system, you're buying into the property. You're not buying into the lien position. You actually own the property. There is a difference because I've noticed a lot of these sites that are selling tokens, they're not telling you that, oh, it's a $200,000 property that already has a lien of 180,000 on it, and they're selling an additional 300,000 tokens or $300,000 worth of tokens. So their combined loan to value or combined tokenization is 400% for that property. That's a real problem because when it hits the fan, the lien holder is going to be the first one to get paid, and the token holders are left holding the bag. Um, how do we make our money? We charge 0 to 10% on the listing fee. Secondary trading fee would be trades between buyer and seller on tokens. There's the institutional buyout fee for an investor that wants to come in and buy that property. There's an exit transfer fee also for that institutional buyout. Management fees, it's depending on the property, but we do pay a property manager to handle each property, and that comes out of the monthly rents. Um, and the gasless relay fee. This is if somebody is owed less than a few dollars, they can pay to get that money out, but that's really a non-issue because once it hits a few bucks, it automatically goes out. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. I don't know what I forgot.
Thank you
There's
so
a lot
much.
going on.
That's great. That's a great pitch. Very interesting project. Thank you. Pitching. Okay, let's hear Melinda's feedback. Melinda?
Yeah,
I put her to
thanks,
sleep.
Josh. That's a very interesting concept, which does align with where the future is heading towards. Don't think I've seen anything like this before, especially here in Australia. Are you targeting investors rather than homeowners?
All of these properties are income producing. They all pay a cash on cash return at the day we close. So, and especially in certain countries like the United States, um, I can't go in and offer this to homeowners. It has to be on a non-owner occupied investment, non-RESPA, non-TRID. Non-RESPA and non-TRID means it's an investment property. Um, it can only be on investment properties. It can be commercial, it can be residential. We can even do it on raw land, but that would be non-income producing. Um, and I would like to, at least for the MVP or the first 10 or 20 properties, let's try to stick with income producing properties. What was the question?
I was asking more about your targeted the people you're targeting, whether it's more of investors or
Yes.
homeowners? Or
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, token buyers are generally going to be, you've got a couple different tranches. You've got your retail token buyers, which are, your crypto kids. And then you've got family offices, which are really, those are going to be the bulk buyers, I think. And what's really kind of cool is that token buyers can buy into their local areas. So if you have a family office that's in Seattle and they want to buy into properties that are near Seattle, we can offer that. So they could they could have a majority of their tokens on local properties and they can actually help their area. And then you get into institutional investment, and that's a whole. My goal as the guy that runs this is twofold: find properties to tokenize and find liquidity. That's the second part is what you're talking about. And I think institutional and family offices are the two serious contenders there. I'll
Yeah,
stop
I'm
talking.
also wondering, how would you reach the general population in terms of how much do you think that how much of the current population do you think are educated enough in this field to be able to buy into this project? Because if you think about your anyone from 40s to above, I would say most of those the demographic
Yeah,
of the people here in Australia. I don't think I would see them buying into something like this, and they are the ones with the most amount of money.
I agree, and that's why the family office is who I'm going to concentrate on. It is true. There is definitely a moat or even a, they've got to get over this obstacle of technology and figure out how to connect their wallet. We actually spoke to Tangem, which is a hardware wallet. They make a ring that you can wear, and they make a card, and and they make a virtual wallet, and they want to put our system inside their ecosystem so that the people that have those wallets can easily invest in our system. Um, I'm pretty excited about that. They're just saying, go ahead, get the license and get tokenized, and they'll stick it in their system. Um, I do agree. Like it's a total pain to deal with the education of over 40-year-olds. Um, I think if we stick with the younger kids and eventually I use something called Garden, which allows people to swap USDT and USDC, which are uh, stable coins, quickly into the Arbitrum chain to invest and quickly out. That's something that I put on the back burner for now. Um, but we do something I should mention. We only deal with stable coins. So we're creating tokens, but we don't trade in Bitcoin. We're only using USDC or USDT. It's because there's already enough volatility in real estate that I don't need to lose half the value because Bitcoin decided to take a dump. So I don't know if that answered your question. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to get those older guys. But I'm 50, so I don't know. Maybe it disproves it. Okay,
Yeah, thank you for your candid and honest answer.
my
Yep.
pleasure.
Thank you,
How would
Melinda.
you,
Yeah,
oh,
you have
sorry,
some
just
more?
one last question.
Yeah, sure.
How would you deal with things like payments of building maintenance costs? Like, do you distribute that amongst all the
Oh,
different owners? How does that work? And
wait, I'm sorry. Did you say how do we pay vendors?
yeah, basically like the ongoing day-to-day building
Yeah,
maintenance,
yeah.
things like
I'm
that.
glad you asked. Okay, so when I first built this system, I did take the short route and I just built a tokenized fractionalized real estate system. And then as I was pitching it to El Salvador, the SEC basically in El Salvador, they asked me, they're like, well, how does this work? And I was like, I really got to think about this. So it turns out there's that whole property management system at the beginning. Okay, so the property manager, they can collect the rent, but we email invoices to the renters. and they can click and pay in USDT or USDC. The money goes into the escrow replenishment system where it sits in there until a couple things have to happen. Let's say there's a simple thing, toilet backs up. Okay, they got to send a plumber out. The property manager takes a picture, or the renter takes a picture, creates an issue in the property management system. And if it's under $1,000, it's automatically approved. And the funds go to the property manager, and the property manager pays the invoice. And then they take a picture of the invoice, and it goes back into our system. So we have backup. When it hits a certain dollar volume and a certain importance, like if the roof blows off from a hurricane, it's going to get in nearly up to, it takes, we allow up to 3 days for a quorum vote where an emergency is declared, where we maintain the property. And then if the quote for, we require the property manager to get a couple quotes. And this, by the way, this is all automated. And, you know, we can watch it happen and we can influence it a little. But depending on the dollar volume, the property manager has to do certain things. So let's say the roof's gone. He gets 3 quotes for a new roof. It goes through the system. If it doesn't make sense to fix the roof and the house is a loss, it goes to the insurance company. The payout comes, pays the token holders. It's over. Or after a 3-day quorum vote, the token holders decide how they want to handle it. And if they vote on a certain quote, the funds get released in tiers as the work gets completed. And this is all automated and it's all on chain. That's what's crazy. Yeah. So I think I answered your question, but if I didn't, feel
Yes.
free to jump in
Yes,
there.
I can see you've put a lot of thought into this.
I put so much thought into it, I can't remember the details because there was so much planning. And I got, I'd build out a certain system and then I'd have to think about it for a while. And then I'd go back and change some certain things. So there have been so many changes. If you are ever really questioning anything, feel free to go to docs.secondarydao.com and just look up escrow replenishment and it gives you extreme details.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Melinda. Unfortunately, Meredith has left, but she has asked to be connected to you by email after the call, so I will introduce you like tomorrow. So thank you so much again, Joshua, for pitching for a great project. Thank you. And yeah, so today was kind of a shorter event than usual, but I think it was really nice. With pleasure to have you both and also the advisors. And there is a recording that will be uploaded probably tomorrow. And
Oh, great.
yeah, there will be a recording, and we are always sharing it, by further into our network, by newsletters, and we will do posts and so on. So the recording is very, very valuable, like to continue even post events, connections and promotion of the company. So. And yeah, and I will send a follow-up email to all of you. And yeah, so I want to thank you. Thank you very much for joining. Hope you liked the event, and hope to see you again at the Startup Club.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Thank you
Great
so much, Rebecca.
presentation, Joshua. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too.
You too.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.